The victory lap performed at the press conference, a joint press conference in New Orleans on the 2nd of January, 2025, was repulsive and annoying to a casual observer or anyone with any vested interest in the tragedy that happened with the horrific carnage that unfolded in the city of New Orleans. In 2019, a private security consulting firm report warned that the risk of terrorism in the French Quarter, specifically that of mass shootings and vehicular attacks, remained highly possible while moderately probable. The report strongly recommends, it said at the time, safety structures such as bollards to be fixed and improved immediately. Only weeks ago, the Department of Homeland Security and the FBI warned law enforcement of the threat of violence from lone offenders around the holidays and the potential use of vehicle ramming. According to two internal memos obtained by CNN, a joint DHS and FBI bulletin released on December 6th, and a follow-up critical incident note about a vehicular attack at the Magdeburg Christkindl market came days before the massacre in New Orleans. Joint bulletins are distributed to federal, state, local law enforcement from DHS, the FBI, and National Counterterrorism Center to inform them about the threat environment. But the city's steel portable barriers were in the down position during New Year's celebrations instead of having solid bollards mounted on the streets. Surveillance footage on Bourbon Street showed the pickup truck driving over one such barrier, which wasn't even erected at the time of the incident, and speeding away afterwards, narrowly missing many partygoers. One witness said they had the flimsy orange ones you could just push over with your finger. Mayor Cantrell and Governor Landry both spoke at a joint press conference on Thursday, a day after the horrific terrorist attack. Now, I covered that embarrassing press conference live, and I have a few notable observations to share. First, inattention and negligence installing proper countermeasures. We've seen these vehicular attacks over and over in places like London, Paris, Kenosha, Wisconsin, and most recently Magdeburg. And I have warned people when I was in the intelligence community and now as a private citizen about the threat from these attacks. Rather than a victory lap, officials in Louisiana and the federal government should be embarrassed and even consider resignation after their failure to address basic preventative measures for years. Law enforcement reportedly was at 100% manning for New Year's Eve, plus an additional 300 assets, which they didn't elaborate on. And yet they still failed. Jabbar's deadly drive wasn't stopped by law enforcement, but rather by an excavator that was parked on the street. Otherwise, he likely would have killed dozens more innocents. Now, here's something. Facebook can remove a video or comment and remove an account for someone criticizing Anthony Fauci in mere minutes. Yet when a jihadist posts threatening videos on his Facebook account hours before a deadly rampage in New Orleans, his page was still up and Facebook's safety measures failed to report it to law enforcement. Why? You can silence patriots and conservatives, but not jihadists, Zuckerberg? Why is that? The governor announced that the scene was cleared a mere 23 hours after 14 people were run down over several hundred meters and a shootout with Jabbar. Why? Who cleans a homicide scene in 23 hours? Who clears one in 23 hours? Let alone a mass murder scene strewn out over hundreds of meters. You don't clear that in 23 hours. Is this a cover-up? Or is it a case of greed comes first? New Orleans officials, in their rush to clear the scene, do not engender any degree of confidence in the FBI, the New Orleans Police Department, alcohol, tobacco, and firearms, Governor Landry, the Biden regime, or Mayor LaToya Cantrell. Authorities finished processing that scene by early in the morning, Thursday, removing the last of the bodies, and Bourbon Street reopened for business by early afternoon. Aside from the ATF rep, they all look and sound like cheerleaders patting themselves on the back for a job well done. Well, what they have done is clearly demonstrate that tourism revenue is far more important to New Orleans than public safety. The Biden regime once again demonstrates how focusing resources and coercing tech to censor conservatives rather than devote energy and resources to actual, genuine threats undermines our collective security. In what he no doubt intended to be a message of confidence on Wednesday night, less than 24 hours after the attack, Louisiana Governor Jeff Landry ate dinner in the French Quarter, steps from Bourbon Street. The callous photo op is an example of how disconnected politicians are from reality. It was insensitive and stupid, sending the message that the show must go on, regardless of the circumstances or the loss. Mayor Cantrell and Governor Landry's repeated resilience comments were also grating and callous. Governor Landry posted a photo from outside the restaurant where he ate hours after the carnage, a message to would-be visitors that this resilient city, as he and so many others call it, was safe and open for business. Well, that didn't sit well with everybody, especially people in New Orleans. Andrew Stevens, the owner of Sports Drink, a coffee shop in New Orleans' Irish Channel neighborhood, took exception to the term. They call us resilient after they shirk their responsibilities to the public. It's pandering. I don't want us to be resilient. I want us to be safe. And I agree 100%. This is nonsense. These public officials are a disgrace, a disgrace. And there must be answers. Of course, we won't get answers. We're still waiting for answers to Ruby Ridge. We're still waiting for answers to July 13th in Butler, Pennsylvania, or the other assassination attempt in Florida on Donald Trump. We're still waiting answers on so many things, which we will never get. Never get the truth. And we're not going to get it here in New Orleans. Why did social media fail so spectacularly to flag these videos and to report them to law enforcement for hours? Why did people who knew him not report his conduct and behavior to authorities? And why were there no bollards in place? The first question I asked, the very first question I asked when this story broke was, didn't they have bollards? It struck me as quite odd, and it's the first question I asked. It should have been the first question that the police commissioner, that the mayor should have asked moments after assuming their jobs, whenever that was, not after 14 people run down by a jihadist. What say you, America? Happy New Year.